You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. We have a loaded show to get into, so let's do it. We have a major Daniel Jones injury update coming out of the NFL owner meetings. Joe Schoen and John Mara spoke about the injury. Mara also spoke about the possibility of drafting a quarterback. He said he has given the green light to Joe Schoen and Brian Dable to do so if they find the right guy. Also, Joe Schoen talked about Darren Waller. We know that he is contemplating retirement. We have an update somewhat on that. We'll dive into it. But first, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. This is the time of year that random stuff happens at random times. And I don't want you to miss it. And on top of that, I just want to say thank you to everybody that has already subscribed to this channel. We're up to 45,000 subs, 50,000 around the corner. So subscribe and turn the notifications on for free, informative, entertaining updates every day on the New York Giants. According to Joe Schoen at the NFL owners meetings, he is expecting Daniel Jones to be ready to roll once training camp comes later this summer. He also said that Daniel Jones is now running on land, which is a major development in his rehab as he comes back from that torn ACL. We told you guys a couple weeks ago that Jones started to run on one of those gravity resistance type of machines, but now that he's doing it on land, having to do it with his own legs is a major step in the right direction as he continues to throw and get ready to roll. I want to take a look at this picture. We referenced it a couple of times on this show, but I think it really puts into perspective the timeline that Daniel is operating on. A guy like Kyler Murray tore his ACL in Week 14. He wasn't ready to go until Week 10 of the following year. Joe Burrow, though, like Jones, was hurt later in the year, Week 11. He was ready to rock and roll in Week 1. Jimmy Garoppolo almost needed a full calendar year going from Week 3 to Week 1 of the next year. But that Deshaun Watson timeline is essentially the exact one that Jones is operating on. He tore his ACL in Week 9. He was ready to go in Week 1. And that is what the Giants are expecting. John Mara told the media today that he is expecting Daniel Jones to be ready to go Week 1. So Joe Schoen said he's going to be ready to go training camp, and Mara is expecting for Jones to be ready to go Week 1. That would be a quick turnaround, and if you're a Daniel Jones fan, that is great news. Thing is, are we sure that it's going to be Daniel Jones' job no matter what? We told you guys a couple of weekends ago that the general manager for the Seattle Seahawks, John Schneider, said that the reason Drew Lock did not return to the Seattle Seahawks is because the Giants had convinced him that he would be able to compete with Daniel Jones to be the starting quarterback. But then we heard the very next day at the introductory press conference for Locke that he was told that it's Daniel Jones' team and he is coming here to be a backup. Maybe that's just a little bit of a PR move, but I do believe there will be some sort of a competition for the Week 1 job, whether it's Locke, whether it's Jones, or whether it's Jones and one of the quarterbacks that the Giants maybe draft in this upcoming year. So I want you to pick. Who would you rather be the starter for this football team? Is it Daniel Jones? Is it Drew Lock? Type the initials of the guy you want to see under center come Week 1. Next story on today's show. John Mara said this about the quarterback draft class coming up in April. This was very interesting. He said, this is the most talented group to come out in years. At least that's what the Giants front office has told him. It always seems like the Giants maybe talk just a little bit too much. Or maybe this is somewhat of a smokescreen by the Giants. But I don't love that with the 6th pick, the Giants owner is coming out and saying that we love this draft class. It's loaded, pretty much showing you the cards they are holding that they want to draft a quarterback. Thing is, they still have a guy on their roster that's due over $55 million over the next 2 seasons. Mara, he talked about Jones, and he said this: everybody in the building wants Daniel Jones to succeed, but you can never let that get in the way if you make a judgment that there are better people coming out in the draft who have a chance to be really good franchise-type players. It is really starting to feel like the steam and the smoke is apparent about what the Giants want to do at quarterback in the draft, and that is select a quarterback. It's kind of felt like a smokescreen. We've heard Joe Schoen talk about it. We've heard now John Mara talk about it. Maybe the Giants are just dead set on drafting a quarterback. Mara said this: if they do, let's say they draft a quarterback, Mara said, we'll let him compete with Daniel Jones. You don't draft a quarterback number 6 overall to compete with Daniel Jones, who's coming off a torn ACL and a second neck injury in the last 3 years that caused him to miss time. If you draft a quarterback number 6, he is going to be the franchise quarterback. Maybe Jones starts the first couple of weeks, but by the end of the 2024-2025 season, that guy will be your starting quarterback. I wanted to go to this tweet that kind of made its rounds across Twitter over the weekend. John Frisella, who covers the NFL, said this: breaking. While it's come out that the Giants are upset someone leaked the J.J. McCarthy story, which we told you about from Connor Hughes, sources tell me they were even more interested in Jaden Daniels. However, it has become clear to the Giants that Daniels is definitely going in the top 3 of the NFL draft. Thus, their attention completely turned to McCarthy. We're also getting reports today that the Washington Commanders may take J.J. McCarthy number 2. Everyone is saying all kinds of different things. But what this tells me, and the way Joe Schoen has talked about the draft, and the way John Mara has talked about the draft, there is a strong feeling inside the building that the Giants want to draft a quarterback. Who will it be? These are my quarterback rankings as we filmed this video on March 25th about where the Giants stand. I have Caleb Williams as my QB1. He's going to go number 1 overall. We know that. So I don't even think there's really a reason to talk all that much about Williams. Number 2, I have Drake May. And it's really QB1, then a gap, QB2, and then another gap. I love Drake May. I like his ability to throw the ball over the middle of the field. I think he really fits into what Brian Daboll wants to do schematically on the offensive end. Those deep crossing routes, hitting in between the hashes. I think May does that better than anybody in this class. I have the playmaker and the Heisman, Jaden Daniels, as my QB3. But like there's a gap in between Williams and May, I do think there is a gap between May and Daniels. I think Daniels sometimes is a little bit too quick to tuck it and run. And that's the reason why I have J.J. McCarthy closing the gap between QB3 and QB4. I just love everything about McCarthy, except for the fact I haven't gotten to see it unfold in front of my eyes. But my evaluation and the way that I view the quarterback position, and as I project, I think he's going to be a winning quarterback in this league for a long, long time. I have Michael Penix rounding out the top 5. His ability to just spin it, I think he's got some of the most pop in his arm in this draft. He could touch every blade of grass. I like that he operated at a really high level in a downfield passing attack. I'm not sure there's anybody that throws outside the numbers better than Penix in this draft class. And I would be happy if the Giants got any of these top 5 guys. But I don't want to take Michael Penix at number 6. He's a round 2 guy for me. Will the Giants have a chance at all, though, to get one of those top 4 guys? Caleb Williams, it doesn't sound like there's any chance at all. It sounds like his draft card has already been turned into Roger Goodell about who will be going number 1, Caleb Williams, to the Chicago Bears. Is Drake May going to fall to 4? 6, is J.J. McCarthy? Is Jaden Daniels? I don't know. So you may have to move up and go get one of those guys. But I've come to the conclusion on the quarterback position that I am only going to trade up for Caleb Williams, which doesn't matter, or Drake May. I like Jaden Daniels, but I think at 6, that's a good landing spot for him. I'm not sure I'm willing to give up extra draft capital to move up 2 spots on a player that I'm not dead fast 100% sure is going to be a for sure hit in the NFL. I think he's going to be good. I think he can be good, and I like the idea that the Giants have a coach in Brian Daboll who has unlocked a quarterback like that. I'm just not trading up for anybody outside of May or Caleb Williams. But Drake May, he falls to 3. He falls to 4. I'm on the phone, and I'm working the phone. I'm trying to make a deal. Name a QB you want the Giants to draft, though. I'm curious what all you got to say. Let me know in the comment section. Coming up around the corner, Joe Schoen speaks on Darren Waller. Waller has reportedly been mulling the idea of retirement. Will he come back? We've got some information around that across the way. But first, I got to tell you guys about our proud sponsor, Prize Picks. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. It's daily fantasy sports made easy, and there is no better time in the calendar, in my honest opinion, to play Prize Picks than right now. The action in the NBA is heating up, and March Madness continues to roll on. They always have these awesome deals for new and returning users. Check them out, prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. All you do is create a lineup of 2 to 6 players, and you choose more or less on their projected stat line. This is the lineup that I'm going to be rolling with for the games later in the week in the men's college basketball tournament. I believe Dalton Knecht's going to have a big game. I'm going to go with more on his points, rebounds, and assists. I've always been a big fan of Caleb Love. I think he's a professional scorer playing in college. I think he's going to have more than 18.5 points. You can roll with my picks or fade my picks, But I kindly ask, if you're going to play daily fantasy sports, you do it with our proud sponsor, Prize Picks. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. We love having Prize Picks as a sponsor. The only way we're going to be able to keep them around is if you guys show them love. So be real ones and play Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. All righty, let's close the show talking about Darren Waller. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of rumors that Darren Waller is unsure if he's going to play football this year at all, whether it's for the Giants or somebody else. He is mulling the idea of retiring from the National Football League. Joe Schoen, while he was speaking to the media at the NFL owners' meetings today, said there wasn't much of an update for Darren Waller, and he has not decided to impose a deadline for Waller to make a decision. But 3 weeks ago, Darren Waller told people that he's going to make a decision pretty soon. And I'm not anyone that, he's usually on time. I'm usually a guy that runs 5 to 10 minutes late. So I understand this. But when you say pretty soon, that's not 3 weeks. And the Giants, they really don't have much more time to decide, because if he leaves, they need to add a tight end. And they need to know that, I feel like, to properly build and evaluate draft picks if they have a decision on Waller prior to the draft. So what could they do? If they cut him prior to June 1st, they save $6.7 million on the cap with a dead cap hit of 7.3. This is very similar to if he retires, maybe a difference of a couple of $100,000. But something that's not being talked about a lot, that I think is something that Joe Schoen is processing and starting to think about, is what about Darren Waller as a post-June 1st cut? The difference between a pre-June 1st cut and a post-June 1st cut is obviously when the cut happens. But if you make someone a post-June 1st, which you really only get, I think it's only one post-June 1st cut a year, if maybe a couple more than that, you cannot use this cap space in free agency, really, until after June 1st. So you could use it to sign your rookie draft picks if you want to do that. How much does it cost to sign your rookie draft class? About $9 to $10 million. You make Waller a post-June 1st cut, you have all your draft pick salary cap right there. I'll keep my eyes on that because I think that could be a possibility. And whether he's back or not, I think we will all agree, somebody who I thought he was going to be a big addition was a major disappointment for this ball club. The injuries have just caught up to him. The hamstrings are not what they used to be. And you see that in the games that he has really not played in. Only played in 11 games in 2021. Just 9 games in 2022. Played in 12 games for the Giants this past year, the most since 2020. But he just wasn't effective. He looked slow. He didn't look explosive. And it always felt like he was dealing with a nagging hamstring injury. So you look at the tight end room now that the Giants have. If you take Waller out, you have a major need for the Giants to go out and sign a tight end or draft a tight end that can affect the game positively in a passing way. Because Daniel Bellinger, even though I love the grit and grind and the ferocity and just the do-it mentality he plays with, I don't think he's a tight end one in this league. Chris Manhertz is a blocking tight end. He had 380 snaps last year, 300 of them he was blocking. Jack Stoll, who comes from the Philadelphia Eagles, is also a blocking tight end. And Tyree Jackson was on the practice squad last year. The Giants, if Darren Waller retires, or honestly, even if he doesn't, they should look to add more talent to the tight end position. A guy I'm keeping my eyes on in the NFL draft is tight end Jatavian Sanders out of the University of Texas. May be able to get him in round 3. More likely we'd have to take him in round 2. But he is an explosive player, and I'd love to see him in this offense. Make sure you are following me over on social media at @MarshallGreen_ on Twitter, as well as at @MarshallGreen_ on Instagram. I'm tweeting, I'm posting every day about Big Blue. So subscribe and hit me up on social media.